welcome to a special episode of the Jibber Jabber podcast tonight. You're all joining us here slightly later than usual, but there's a reason for it. That's correct. You guys have seen us review many movies, and we've watched along many movies with you guys at home also. And it would be crazy to say that we have not bigged up Sharknado a billion times, especially Matthewman with his art. Guys, how much did you love the Sharknado series?
Oh, brilliant. Right up my street.
Endless good fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the creator of Sharknado, Anthony C. Ferrante, actually made a new movie, which, from the creator of Sharknado, gets you hooked straight away. No pun intended. Not you could hook a shark, really. So that basically, when you see the creator of Sharknado, you're like, I'm on it, right? So I kind of went in expecting a little bit of the theme of Sharknado. However, I was aware from the trailer that it wasn't going to be exactly like that. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a serious tone, which is good to see. It's a bit of diversity from filmmakers. So I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for everyone, and then we shall bring Anthony in, and we'll have a chat about his upcoming release, which was just released there on Halloween, which is called NIX. Here it is.
Hey, honey. Looks like it might storm.
No, I think we'll be all right.
Dad, someone's watching us.
Hello? What are you doing over there?
Wait, Tessa! Tessa?
We celebrate Tessa's birthday because she's not here. And she's coming back.
She replays that day over and over again. She just won't accept that Tessa and your father are gone.
Do you ever hear voices?
What kind of voices?
Voices that aren't really there.
Something was out there.
I think people create monsters.
Did Tessa really disappear out here?
I saw it. I saw all of it.
It's not inside you yet.
This isn't nothing.
What the hell was that?
There are answers on this tape and out in the woods.
We're letting our imagination get the best of us.
I had another nightmare.
Don't be afraid. It's nothing.
Tessa, smile!
Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony C. Ferrante. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi, Anthony.
Hi. So NIX is obviously a more serious tone than what we're used to seeing from you, aside from Boo. What made you decide, you know what, I'm going to actually go down this road? And what you've done was actually very clever. You focused a lot more on horror where it comes to the acting ability. It's like horrors are always known for being, there's the big crazy guy / right, don't go in the basement. But you kind of take elements of horror and you make it, I don't know, it's like palatable for those that may not like horror, but with a wee bit of sprinkle, if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been doing a lot of different things lately, which has been kind of fun. I mean, Sharknado, I love what we did with Sharknado, but I was always, I got my start in horror, and Boo definitely, and I love horror films, but doing something that's interesting horror wise has always been difficult. I have probably like 3 or 4 scripts we've been trying to get made for probably 10 plus years, and they're just off the beaten track. They're weird, they're strange, they're not typical, and what people want to make in general is kind of the same old stuff. So they hear, what about this torture porn, or what about that, and it's like, so luckily Sharknado happened, and I got to do a bunch of fun silly things, and when it was James Zimbardi, Skyler Caleb, Woodrow Wilson Hancock III, I'd produced a film with them a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, called Awaken the Shadow Man. And they came to me, they were working on another project, saying, hey, would you be interested in directing something for us? And so we looked at the material, And we were going to shoot something during the pandemic, like literally right when it hit. We already had booked a place in Atlanta, the Appalachian Trail, and then we had to shut down before we could even go there because it was such an uncertainty of, if we went there, would we be trapped in Atlanta? So that gave us time to kind of redevelop it and really think about the movie that we wanted to do. And there's still some elements of what was in that original concept. But I said, look, if we know we have X amount of dollars to make a movie, and it's a truly indie film. So let's make a movie for ourselves. Let's make a movie that we know, regardless what happens, it has a creature, it has a great title, it has scares, but let's try to dig a little deeper, because I like horror movies that have more going on with it. And let's do something that subverts what everybody's going to expect it to be. Obviously, number one, you hear the director of Sharknado and you think, oh, it's going to be big and goofy. So there's expectation one that we're going to debunk. And number two, oh, there's a creature. We know exactly where this is going. And the tone of the movie I wanted as an indie movie with horror elements. So that's why it's kind of shot sort of like an indie drama, but with these horror things. So when we finally finished the film and we were screening it, I actually realized everybody going in thinks they know exactly what this movie is, and then you keep watching it going, I know where it's going, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, huh? wait, what are they doing now? And it keeps building until this really crazy kind of surreal ending where every single horror person I've talked to doesn't even expect where it's going to lead, and to me, I think that's a big win. So I mean, I think that I've found that a lot of people that are horror fans, diehard horror fans, it's not what they would normally expect. So they feel a little frustrated by it. But people that go into it just cold as watching a movie, they find all that nuance and all that character stuff and the meaning behind it, which is really about generational trauma and addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And also for the people that like horror films the standard way, there are some pretty damn good scares in it as well. Like I had to change my pants at least twice. So, so you do get some of that, but it does really subvert your expectations as to where the film's going to go. Great lead performances as well by James Zimbardi and Dee Wallace. I mean, you said you'd worked with James Zimbardi before. How well did you know him at this point, or was it just like an acquaintance that you did something with, or did you become friends after that?
No, I'd been friends with Skyler for a long time, and then James probably for the last 6 or 7 years in Woodrow. So they were the leads of that other movie I produced. So I knew who they were. I knew what we were trying to accomplish with it. And they were great collaborators because I literally came in and said, look, let's completely rethink this. And there was a different title, there was a different story. And, I looked up a bunch of mythologies that I thought would be interesting that would still tie into loosely what they were originally going for. And I found NIX, which is a German mythology. It's sort of it's called the Naken or the Nixian. It's the image of this half face in water. And it's more of a water fairy, so we didn't take a lot of that stuff. But that half face in water, I just became fascinated with that, about how could we take this and turn it into something that was kind of interesting. And that's where the impetus came. And so, I mean, no one's used the word NIX for a movie. I mean, how many? It's like gold. It's like the heavens just gave us this great real title. And also, when you know what NIX means in German, it adds an extra layer of meaning to it. So.
It means nothing. Is it mean nothing? And then that passed on to the song at the end of the film as well.
The song, which came out on YouTube and Spotify and stuff. That's our band, Quint, doing that song at the end.
I've got my Quint T-shirt on, and
thank you.
You were not expecting us, were you?
No, we're not. That's great.
We are the next podcast.
I'm a horror guy. I like my horror films. And when Kevin sent me the poster, you go, right, this looks right up my street. The first 5 minutes, you think you're watching, you think you know what you're going to get, and then it's really not that at all. It's not your typical creature feature. Like I wasn't prepared for basically the family trauma that was going to kind of be thrust upon me. It was quite a. It wasn't a happy film to watch. It was like you kind of never felt at ease when you were watching it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It was different to what I was expecting. It was good. I enjoyed it.
A lot of movies will give you a creature unnamed, like Hellraiser, and you'll name him Pinhead, even though that was never initially what the creature was called. Do you have a name? Because Matthewman came up with Swamp Bam.
Oh no!
Is it an actual name, or do we get to pick the name and expect to see Swamp Bam elsewhere?
It's NIX.
Also, NIX is his name.
Yeah, that's its name. But you know, there's an element of there's a little bit of an element of Rashomon in there, where it's the different perspectives of what's really happening, and you peeling the layers, and you know, it's a little there's a little subversive stuff like that with the film. I when we were making it, you know, I kind of said it's Ordinary People meets Videodrome. I wrote, you know, when we knew we were doing this, in my head when I was writing the mom role, I you know, had worked with Dee Wallace on a couple of movies, and I just kept thinking Dee. I knew she was the only one that could bring that role to fruition, you know, because it's such a tricky role, and it, you know, that's the anchor for which all this other stuff you know, comes after it. The other thing that's really odd about the movie, which again, seeing it as a whole, I know that we had those beats in there when we were making it, but you know, once you add the music and, you know, those scenes that have this element, you're not paying attention to, you're paying attention to the more complicated, you know, cutting, you know, the editing style for the horror and trying to get that. But the fact that there's actually, it's strangely emotional. There's like really emotional beats in a film where you should not have those feelings for some of these characters. You actually care about them in a tragic way, and you actually empathize, even though they do horrible things in the film. So, and then that last beat in the at the restaurant at the end, where, you know, there's a couple tugging at the heartstrings, and I think that's a testament to the actors and that what we've created, what we're trying to say. You know, they're people that have really related to the stuff, because I think everybody at some point has experienced family members that are dealing with extreme grief or addiction or whatever, and that's kind of what this is playing upon. It's something I call a loop. There's, you know, people go through things, and then they just constantly relive that thing over and over again and don't know how to move on and just to live their life. And so they're trapped in that. And so this movie is, how do you get someone, particularly Zoe, who is the niece in the movie, or the granddaughter, you know, how does it not come and follow her? You know, that was kind of what the soul of the movie is.
Speaking of Zoe, I mean, one of the hardest things as filmmakers would imagine is to get child actors who can actually carry your story. Now, what was the casting process like for the children in this? Because they all did a great job. I mean, you've got obviously Zoe, who's the main
Nisha, Gulbot.
Yeah. You do have the other siblings as kids kind of dotted throughout the movie, but they all give great performances. How difficult was it to find these people?
It's difficult in the sense of when you're, for the most part on indie films in general, it's difficult to find the right mix of actors anyway, because the pool is limited. You know, most actors, you know, that they expect to be SAG shows or whatever, and so you're looking for up and comers. You're looking for actors that really, you know, that really want that chance to show off. And so for kids, it's really hard, because what you're looking for in the audition stage, you're looking for people that have an innocence, that haven't been kind of corrupted by the Disney style of, hey kids, hi, my name is, look, oh my gosh, you know, that there's a lot of kid actors that are that big because that's what they see on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, and that's one style of acting. But in this case, you want to find that innocence, that thing where they're just themselves, but they can do the performance. And you also need to know that they can be scared. And so Nisha, once we saw her audition, it was like, she's Zoe. I mean, there was just an honesty about her that was just, it was shocking how great she was. And when she got on set, you know, if you look, there's two scenes in the movie where we did one-ers. One of them opposite Dee, where it's her sitting there on a bench talking to her, and I think we pull back on them or we push in, and we did it 2 takes. Like we did a first take and she didn't flub it. The little kid didn't flub a single line. And she's also acting. She's not remembering lines. She's interacting with her. And after the first take, I'm like, well, we should just do one for safety, but you guys nailed it. and she did the same thing in the bedroom with James Zimbardi, where they were sitting on the bed and they're doing this little thing about, pinky swear and all that stuff. And nature of doing wonders sometimes is because you have limited time. But also, if 2 actors can do it and nail it, and you're not taking like 20 takes to get it, then you're golden. And we did both of those in 2 takes, and that's a testament to her. But there's things when you watch her that it's just, she's going to be a phenomenal actress. She's in character reacting to what's going on, and it's powerful. There's a scene where something happens to her mom, and she's told this by James, and she looks at Dee in the scene, and she goes, well, your mom's got to go take care of some stuff. She's not going to be here for a while. And literally you see her going, oh, I know what really happened, but I'm going to make it okay for the adults in the room, the character. And that's a mad skill to have. So I was very fortunate. And then the other kids that we had, Angeline, and Lena, and Daly, and Aiden, they were fantastic. They just did a fantastic job. I mean, they all looked like the kid, the 2 leads, so it was crazy.
That was brilliant.
And Angelina is so sweet too, playing Tessa. I mean, she we had to put her in a pool, and you make her dead and all that stuff. And the funny thing is, she was so quiet when we were filming the movie. And then when we did the premiere in Northern California a couple of weeks ago, and she showed up, and it's probably about 1.5 years, and then she was just like talking, and now she wants to make movies, and so does Aiden, and it was just it was so funny to see her like this open up the world for them. They had such a good time, and now they're fully aware of what's going on. So it was cool. It was very cool.
That's amazing. Janice says, I'm gonna have to see this one. Jan Child says, think I'd piss my pants watching this one.
And this is our audience.
The Bobbiter says, yes, that's all with me. And also, I was in a Smarties advert, says Jan. And also says, kid actors are amazing. Little old heads on young shoulders. That's a testament to that. So what kind of movies did you watch growing up? Is that kind of where you kind of reached in to take some inspiration to create NIX?
Ethan Daly. My brain froze. He plays young Jack. Sorry, my brain wasn't there for that one. Apologies, Ethan. When I was a kid, I was a horror kid. I loved horror movies since probably as far back 7 or 8. My mom used to watch them. Used to watch the stuff on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. They would have like a lot of like the old 40s and 50s stuff, and then we had a thing up in Northern California called Creature Features, first with Bob Wilkins and then later with John Stanley, so kind of our horror host. So I would watch a lot of that. And then the local movie theater, I started doing movie reviews. In 6th grade, I decided I wanted to make movies, not knowing how to do it because I came from a small town. So I started reviewing them in my class paper, and so I somehow was able to get a free pass from the local theater to go watch every single movie at all the theaters. So I saw everything, and I saw things I probably should have never seen. And it was also a time where they would do a lot of those reissues because there wasn't a lot of video, and cable was limited in what they had. So you'd suddenly have Halloween being reissued for the umpteenth time, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So so there was a lot of things that I saw that I probably shouldn't have seen. But it just, I loved it. I love Carpenter, obviously, is a big influence just because he did so many great things, and the stuff that stood the test of time. So I would seek out everything, but on top of that, I would watch other things that were not. I wouldn't just go see the horror movies. I'd see every movie that come out. I'd lived at the movie theater on the weekends some of my best friends ended up becoming the employees of the movie theaters when I was a kid. So and then one of the managers there, Bart, who became a good friend and was in a bunch of my movies and always helped out. So it was a very it was a very great learning experience. And then, once video happened, I was able to see a lot of stuff on video that I remember watching Dawn of the Dead for the first time on Christmas Day, because, it was like the holy grail and it was never playing anywhere. So, when the first time my sister got a VCR, I went to the video store on Christmas Day, and I think it was Dawn of the Dead and a couple other movies that I didn't get a chance to see, and it was just like, oh man, the video is awesome.
We actually in this movie NIX, we get to see you sitting in a movie theater, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I spotted you there.
Yeah, so the movie kind of became a little meta, even though in a weird way, because we were supposed to shoot in Los Angeles, and just again, it was the middle of the still about 8 months later when we decided to do it. So we're still COVID really bad. So to get a house to film at and everything. And so I reached out to my hometown, Antioch, which I'd filmed in previously, and said, look, we really need some help. And by being there, we were able to actually shoot in a lot of locations that weren't scripted, like a high school and a theater. And we took a house that had been converted into an art gallery that was down because of COVID and made it our house. And everything is all in that little area in downtown in Antioch. And so we did the movie theater thing because it also has a lot of the spooky basement stuff, because that was built in it was called the El Campanile. It's been around since like 1900s, early 1900s, and it was an old vaudeville theater. But my first short film I filmed at that theater, and I would always film in the basement because it's just the architecture and weird stuff. So whenever they're in the basement or the walls, that's that place. Right. And so I thought, well, we got to put something on the theater screen. So why don't I put one of my short films on there, and I'll be watching it and add an extra layer of meta-ness to the film. So that was a Super 8 project I did when I was in college. That even though there was video at the time, they wanted people to learn how to cut film and shoot on Super 8. So it was this little silly Super 8 movie called Bum Rap, and we put it up on the big screen. And I was watching myself watching a movie I made when I was filming stuff in my hometown at a theater that I grew up watching movies at, where I filmed my first movie at. So it's just like NIX. It's a big loop.
Yeah, it comes in loops. Yeah.
I also noticed in the projection, I think it was a projection booth, in the background there was a poster for Boo. Is that always there, or was that put there just for the movie?
Oh, that was there for the movie. So there's so in addition to meta upon meta, in Boo, there's a character named Arlo Ray Baines, which was played by Dick Wayne. And so when I did this, I thought it'd be fun to get Dig in the movie. So he plays Arlo Balaco. And he owns the movie theater. So Dig came back to do that. And then on the theater screen, or on the marquee, there's The Haunting of Santa Mira. And then there, if you look at it, it says Dynamite Jones, Ignited or whatever. And in Boo, he was a cop who was a former blaxploitation actor who became a real cop and sucked at being a real cop. And so we'd created 5 films for him. One of them you saw in Boo. They think it was Dynamite Jones versus Count Pimpula. And so on the marquee then is Dynamite Ignited, which was, I think that was the second movie in his franchise. So there's even more of a weird meta-ness to all of this.
Wow. You have to make the Pimpula movie. That has to be a thing.
I've always wanted to do a Dynamite Jones franchise, because I love Dig. He was so good in that role in the first movie. Yeah. And I just loved having him in this movie, just even if it was a sort of a cameo. He came down. I said, we just do this as a favor. And he goes, yeah, sure. So he drove down and we snuck him in the movie. So like, even though none of this stuff is supposed to be in your face and obvious, it's there if someone like you guys obviously notice some of that stuff. So
we've just spoiled it for everybody. Sorry.
Andy Gibb asks, who works on your makeup effects?
We had a great team on that movie. Vincent Guastini did the creature. I've known him for years. Worked with him when I was an effects supervisor, working with Brian Usna, and I begged him and said, "Look, we really need a great creature." And he came in. A buddy of mine, Jacob Hare, who we were kind of the two that originally spawned the Sharknado title, because we were trying to come up with stupid titles, and Jake said Sharknado, and we tried to pitch it to Sci-Fi multiple times and nothing happened until eventually it did. But Jake is now he storyboarded some stuff for Boo in my second movie, and then he now is a director over at Rick and Morty. So
Wow.
his one of his episodes won the Emmy a couple years ago. So so when we were doing this, I go, look, can you help me out just working on the design for NIX? And so we sat down for a day and just kind of he sketched some stuff out for me, and then we took it to Vincent. They did a little polish, but that look of what the NIX is came from that session with Jake. So
did you try to, like, because for me, if I'm trying to explain something that I see in my head, it's really difficult. So I just say the most craziest stuff and hope it sticks. Did you have the idea for how what Matthewman calls it swamp bam looks like?
Well, I mean, we started with the half face in water, so it was like, okay, so what is this half face in water? And then, when I was on we were on the phone doing this, we would look through things on the web of like designs and things, and one of the things and texture and the coloring and stuff, so we can kind of get a rough idea. And there was something I saw that I had that interesting webbing, and I really loved the idea of the webbing around the eyes. And so so it was a mixture of things, just talking about it, and Jake's incredible imagination, and we kept refining it until we found what the NIX was going to look like. We knew it was going to be a guy in a creature suit. I didn't want to do digital effects. There's a little slight taste of augmentation in there on a couple small things, but for the most part, I wanted to feel tactile. I didn't want it to be a digital movie. And there's a lot of digital effects in the film, but they're absolutely completely 100% invisible. They're like helping out with some split screens and some stuff. And like I said, there's some just very, very light touches to clean up the suit and stuff, which is the way I think visual effects should be used when you're dealing with makeup effects.
Absolutely.
It's always refreshing to see like kind of creature effects back, because I've seen loads of good films ruined by rubbish CGI. So it's
Matthewman,
nice
actually, the guy to your right, Matthewman, is actually an artist himself. He actually redesigned your poster to fit with this podcast, as you can see.
You have to send that to me. That's awesome.
The guy, he is actually a really amazing artist, and he does a lot with creature works, like what do you call it, the Terrifier and stuff. You've probably seen a lot of his work online. You just don't know it's his because no one. John Cena put his artwork on his own Instagram and completely removed his his wee tag with his name. So Matthewman is forever uncredited in all his work that you've probably seen.
I'm going to go and make Swamp Bam.
You'll need to, and we'll need to send that along to you.
Yeah, please.
There's some really nice. I mean, this movie is filled with really nice imagery and cinematography. As you can see here, there's Swamp Bam ready to chew down on someone. I mean, and again, like there's a warmth to how it's shot. They're definitely. I was watching something recently.
That's Ryan Broomberg was the DP. Did a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a movie
was that the basement in the cinema there? Was that?
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's underneath.
Yes.
So underneath the theater, they have a couple businesses next to it, but that was actually right up the stairs, leads into a barber shop that was right there. Right. So that's that little section, and then when you go into the stuff with them in the basement later, where Mom and Jay are talking, that's deeper into the theater. So I knew all the little nooks and crannies of that place. So a lot of stuff was designed around how we could kind of shoot those little areas and stuff.
Kevin, you going to tell him what you do? What do you do for a living?
I run a cinema. But that, by the way, is like a 200-year-old church building that has
Wow.
some nooks and crannies, and I'm pretty sure Swamp Bam's been leering over me a few times myself. So pretty much, as you were describing, kind of your early start going in to watch movies and stuff. That's pretty much what's happened ourselves. We've actually built a studio, a green screen, cyclorama and stuff within the building.
Wow.
With the aim to make really cool stuff as well. So we're always, that's why we kind of, when we watch a movie, at first it's always the experience, but then we go, right, what can we learn from this? And the number one thing we'll always say about any movie is you can never really judge a movie until you've made one. It's easy to say, hey, you know, this, that, or the next thing, but it's grueling, even just to make a short film that we've been working on for about 6 months, you know. It is a grueling process.
Well, I was a critic for years, and you know, and when you're a critic, you go, "Oh, I'm going to be cheeky and funny and rip this movie to shreds." And then when I started making my own short films, I continued doing the critic thing, but I reviewed things differently because I would see the special things, even in stuff that maybe wasn't great. I would still find interesting things, and you'd start you start looking at projects differently. And then so that was a big eye opener to stuff, because there's always something good. So whenever you see someone online going, "This movie sucks, I fell asleep in the first 15 minutes," well, then you don't have the right to review the movie. You need to watch the whole film. Because I had to sit through a lot of crappy movies in my time as a movie critic that I wanted to walk out of, and I never walked out of any of them. And then I reviewed the movie and said it was a piece of crap. And I, you know, I respect reviews that hate my films, but have watched the movie throughout and can actually talk about why they hate them, as opposed to I fell asleep after 15 minutes, because you're not a critic at that point.
I actually saw a Google review for a restaurant the other day, and it was a 1-star review for this restaurant, and the review said, "I have never been to this restaurant." It's the same thing. That is exactly the same thing. Yeah. If you haven't seen it all, shut the fuck up.
For me, I mean, sorry?
Well, no, and when you guys do your stuff, you know, it's like a normal job, like you go in and okay, let's say whatever a normal thing is, you go into, you know, you work at a restaurant. All right, so probably your biggest hurdle is like maybe, you know, the food didn't, or, you know, some of the rides, you don't have your special, or this, or someone didn't show up into work. But when you're making movies, the universe does not want movies to be made. So you go try to make a movie, and it's like you have thunder showers here, you have someone that's, you know, ran into a pole over here, you know, the lights don't work, so you can't film, the card is corrupted. And, you know, and then you get all that stuff solved, and then you have, like, you know, if you had a 12-hour day, you now have like 6 hours to make your day and do the stuff. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you can deal with all that stuff because you're still just dealing with what you're dealing with. And yeah, there are probably days where lights go out or whatever, but movies are impossible sometimes because all the external factors that are against you, and you still have to perform. You still have to make something happen within your day when you don't have the things that should be there because of the universe saying, we don't like movies.
Oh, thank Christ, it's not just us.
No.
We've said, you know, we should be wrapped up. We should be, you know, we'll start and be wrapped up within 8 hours. It's like 3 days later, we're like, we thought we were doing this in 8 hours. Our wives are phoning, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
So
you're having an affair? No, I'm working on a fucking movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it still happens today. I mean, it's just there's always circumstances, but you know, but sometimes, and I always say this, it's like, you know, you can sit there and beat yourself up over like, oh my God, I wish I just had this crane. Oh, I should have had this. I should have had that. But the thing is, the movie's going to, I always try to tell this to people on the crews and filmmakers in general. It's like, the movie's going to be what the movie's going to be. So like, let's say you didn't get that one scene perfect because of whatever circumstances, but because of that, then that other scene that you were surprised that, oh my gosh, this turned out so well, you might not have got that if you didn't have that hurdle on that one thing. So the movies are going to be what they are. It's up to you to kind of make it into what it is and not go woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, because you always do pickups later, but for the most part, you know, the movie is going to tell you what it's going to be.
I was going to ask you, are you a perfection guy or are you a fix it and post guy?
I'm somewhere in the middle where I want to get because I've been doing a lot of editing lately on my movies where I've taken over as editor, and so I kind of think in the edit. I also, as you've seen with NIX and even Boo and another film I did, Forgotten Evil, I do brain puzzles. And so a lot of times I know how the pieces are going to connect, but it's, I have to have a crew and cast trust me, because NIX, there's a lot of stuff where, you're shooting two different perspectives at different times where it's going to link up and then it's going to go from here to here. So I do have the overall picture of what I want to do. I don't like just to shoot a bunch of random stuff and then hope for the best, unless that's the situation. Like at the last day of shooting, we just had to rush through a lot of stuff, but I also had to keep in my mind the story and what pieces I needed. Because the goal is you want to get all your wides and mediums. You can always go and pick up an insert later. You can always do a close-up of something later, because you can match that, but you can't match the environments. So no, I don't. It's not about fixing it in post. It's trying to get as much of it as you can. But fixing it in the edit, definitely you're going to have to smooth this over. When you're doing independent movies, you have to. It's just the nature of it. So what I like to have is runtime. So I try to get as much runtime out of what we're shooting, because then I could pare it down, and things that aren't working, it gets tighter. So this movie was probably a 2-hour first cut, and then we cut it down to about 98 to 100. And it doesn't mean pulling whole scenes. It just means tightening, and it gives you the ability. If you have less runtime, then you end up with let's say an 89, 90-minute first cut. There's nowhere to go. So you have to live with stuff that what I call ass. It's the stuff that's like, yeah, this is ass. This doesn't work. We got to cut this out. And if you don't have the runtime, it's like, well, the ass stays in, but you can cut the ass out. That's like, oh, well, this close up doesn't work, or this wide shot doesn't work, or hey, these lines suck really bad. I'm a terrible writer. Let's cut that stuff out. So you want to be able to cut the ass out of the movie.
Oh, I like that. For us, for me especially, I always like this because J-Mac and I will argue over certain movies where he'll be like, that was absolutely pants, and I'm like, I defend it. And for me, it is purely always, did I enjoy my experience? Like, I can forgive a boom mic in the shot, I can forgive overexposure, I can forgive the wrong act, but you know what? See, if the full experience for me was a happy one, right? I love that movie. Terminator 3, we argue about it all the time. J-Mac hates it. I absolutely love it because it was special to me.
I actually love Terminator 3 a lot. I think it's probably the best of the outside of 1 and 2. I think it's the best of the sequels.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
Probably, yeah. I had a bit of a soft spot for the newest one. What was it, Dark Fate?
It's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just it rehashes so much of the other stuff. You know?
It was just fan service looking back on it. That's all it was. And then Terminator 3, I don't know. I might give it another chance just because of you, Anthony.
Well, thank you.
We actually are huge shark movie fans on this. We actually do a thing where, and by the way, right, I never thought this would catch on, but it has completely. We take movies, right, that people would say are low budget, right, and we will watch along for an hour or so for the full runtime here live. And what we do is we watch on another screen while our audience also watches with us, right? Which is brilliant. They must get a tiniest wee peek over on Amazon Prime or something, right? But we have properly honed in on shark movies, right? So I was going to ask you, which of these have you seen? Have you ever seen a movie called Ouija Shark? As in like Ouija board, but
I have not seen Ouija Shark. No.
Oh, mate.
You have to. You have to see Ouija Shark. This Ouija Shark will have been made because you made Sharknado.
Like,
right?
You're the king of shark movies, aside from like Jaws and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So these guys are only following, right? They're...
Well, here's what's so bizarre about this. Like about shark films in general. Okay, so there's Jaws, which again they have that title. That is always going to be the king of it. And then for a while there, the next shark movie that people sort of knew was Deep Blue Sea, because of some of the goofy stuff that was in it, and maybe Open Water. But never in a million years would I have ever figured that we would be the second most popular shark movie. And on top of that, I'll get these things occasionally like, oh, by the way, do you know the drive-in showing Jaws and Sharknado as a double feature? It's just like, it's mind-blowing because I love Jaws. And obviously I know Sharknado was its own thing, but for it to kind of be in the same circumference of something that is so freaking amazing, you know, that actually means more to me than anything. That's
great.
That we're there, and then we spawn. You know, Jaws spawn. You know, it's offspring, low budget offspring, piranha, and all that kind of stuff, and then. You know, we've spawned, you know, Ouija Shark and Santa Shark and
it's actually Santa Jaws.
I found that one. I found that one about an hour ago.
Sharks of the Corn. Sharks of the Corn.
Sharks of the Corn.
I was trying to kind of see if Sharknado was the one that kind of really started the kind of let's just get a crazy title and just run with it. I couldn't find any that was.
There was Sharktopus that had a little bit of Corbin did that. Sharktopus had a little bit of a taste of awareness, and then Sharknado kind of came around and did its thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that you saw a lot of these things follow because Sci-Fi would greenlight, like they'd do Sharknado week, and then they would have like an additional 6 movies, and so they would want 3 tons of ridiculous stuff. And then also Asylum prior to us would do, but prior to the company I worked with, Asylum, you know, they did Sharknado, but they did like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, you know, and then they did I can't remember if it was before or after us, but they did 3-headed Shark Attack. So,
did they do 5-headed Shark Attack as well?
Yeah, they did. I believe they did. I think they did 2-headed shark, 3-headed shark. Then they jumped to 5-headed shark or something. So
I wonder if they just thought, you know what, a 4-headed shark will be crap. Let's go to 5.
Yeah, let's just bypass it. You don't need it. You don't need that middle one.
A good friend of ours made a really good shark movie, Shark Night. Doug Curtis. Have you seen Shark Night? That's
I think that might have been an Asylum movie, right? Or no? Shark Night, or is it not?
I think so. It was what's the company worked with again? But they basically, the sharks were made to be like actual like mad predators. Which, by the way, the most non-real thing about Sharknado is sharks apparently aren't that aggressive.
Well, but here, what the thing I got after the success of the first movie would be, I would get interviewed, and people would get so angry with me. They would be going, "Sharks can't live in tornadoes," and then I would go, "But like cars don't turn into robots, so what kind of standards are you holding me to? It's a freaking movie about sharks in a tornado. Like that's blowing your mind. Like people don't turn into zombies either. So after, but that actually was very helpful moving forward because then I literally one time said in an interview, well, the thing is it's not sharks and it's not a tornado. It's a Sharknado, and that's our villain, and it does what we want it to do. And so that opened up the floodgates to all the stuff we did in all the other movies because it's like, well, no, yeah, they live in space. Yeah, they can live, they can attack planes. So it actually freed us with the confines of this thing. It's like, so they're Sharknado sharks. They're not regular sharks. So
that's brilliant. I mean, that's talk about creative freedom. That there it must be like
that was a question I was going to ask about. NIX obviously said it is a very indie film, so you had no studios breathing down your neck about anything that had to be different. It was all just it's all you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, we knew, like I said, we knew. I think we had a sales agent that came aboard right before we shot. We knew what the budget was, and we knew the mandate is like we needed something that you had a title, you had a creature, you had a horror movie that people could that you could sell it, but it's indie, so at a certain point, we weren't spending like $5-10 million. We could take risks, and because we knew we had a good title, we had a good creature. And then this was discussions with Jay and Woodrow and Skyler. Make a movie for us, and people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it, but it's ours. And when is the opportunity going to happen where we can make a movie that means something to us without any interference? There's a lot of weird stuff that we do in this movie that's very unconventional, that goes in places that would have probably been cut down or truncated, or some of the meaning would have been lost if we went to a network. So that was the liberating feeling about NIX, was that this is our thing, and it's for, it's okay. Look, you do need to make money on these things because you want to pay back the investors and the people that put the funds in, but it was low risk in the sense of we had the elements that it will be sold regardless. People will watch it or not watch it based on whether they like the idea of a horror movie. And so that was the fun part, and it was fun. It was fun in the sense of, there's just things that I tried to do filmically that was off. There's keeping a lot of things in the shadows, focusing on some of the performance stuff that gets lost sometimes in horror movies. And then when it leads to everything it leads to toward the end of the movie, there's a lot of layers to it that you could have probably taken a chunk out of it. It might have abbreviated it a little bit and been confusing, but you could have probably stitched it together if someone didn't like it at a studio level or a network level. But it's the movie we wanted to make, and I had great partners in it.
I think going forward now, there's a certain kind of indie film that's kind of doing really well at the moment with a clown way. I think the next kind of wave of films is going to be kind of indie films where they just let directors do what they want. And that can only be good things for kind of moviegoers like us.
No, I mean, I think the studios, I mean, you're seeing it, everything, and I love the studio system, and I think they do some interesting things, but there is this, you hear the things like when they kind of all merge, like we got to focus on tentpoles, we got to focus on what's out there. And, so you're going to see the remakes and the sequels, which I get excited for these things. And I think it's wonderful, but they're taking risks on these smaller movies. It's a risk for a studio. They can't take that risk, even if it's a small amount of money. It's dangerous for them because they don't know what to do with it if they can't put it out theatrically. So yes, this next wave is like, the people that are doing things like Terrifier 2 or what we're doing with NIX. It's going to come from people that are trying to do something a little different. Because honestly, I mean, that's what the 80s was about. It was those little movies, like Halloween, The Fog, Evil Dead, Phantasm, that just came out of nowhere, and you're just looking at it going, I don't know what this is, but it's terrifying the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And so the risk can be made there, and with the right company, like the company that put out Terrifier 2 is doing a great job. You can actually get it into theaters. Also because the pandemic kind of blurred the lines of what was streaming and what was theatrical, and everybody still needs product. They need movies in the cinema. And people will find it. And the audience for these movies are definitely teenagers, 20-somethings that really they like to go to the movies. They don't want to watch something at home. They want to go and be scared with their friends. And so that's why a lot of horror films now are doing so well, because that's Friday night. There's still people that are reticent to go to the theaters because of the pandemic and whatnot. It's changing slowly. But that line has been drawn. Before the pandemic, Netflix, couldn't get a movie in theaters, and now Knives Out, they took over that franchise for Rian Johnson, and the sequel they're putting in theaters for a couple weeks in chains here in America. Before it had to be in the theaters because they refused to work with streamers. So I think there was a great equalizer. Even though as tragic as COVID was for the industry and for people in general, it equalized what is allowed in theaters. You're seeing revivals of movies like The Thing selling out, the 40th anniversary, which maybe that wasn't going to happen. You'd have a handful of people watching it in the movie theater. So I don't know. I think we're in a time where I think there's a lot of opportunity, but it also has to be a good movie. Terrifier 2 is a great horror film. It's got a lot of great stuff into it. You still have to deliver on a certain level for it to get attention. But I think a lot of these weird ideas are going to start surfacing, and they're going to get seen by people. And I'll embrace the next Halloween when they do Halloween 4000 or the next Friday the 13th. But I equally want to embrace the next Terrifier, or hopefully people discover the NIX, and the next thing. I mean, we certainly have ideas of what we'd want to do with another NIX movie, but again, it would be completely subversive and not what anybody would expect it to be, because we kind of told that version of the story.
I was thinking if you come up with a sequel, you could call it Twix.
There you go.
The Bobbiter says this interview is making me want to see this film. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Janice says, I love watching movies with you guys. Well, Janice, you need to go and watch NIX. We are aware that you have to be somewhere. So I'll very quickly ask you before we kind of wrap up here, right? I had an idea for a movie, right? I'm totally fine with you stealing it, right? But tell me whether you think this has legs, okay? It's a Christmas horror, and it's called Advent Calendar, right? Where it's like a cursed Advent calendar. You know what those are in America, right? Advent
calendars. Well, here's the thing: is they made that movie.
No, they didn't. They
Look it
didn't.
up. Not Asylum, no, but it was. There's a movie that was made. It was a foreign film that I don't know if it's called Advent Calendar. I think it might have been, and I think the studios picked it up that they're remaking it. So it
would have been great. See, the idea was that when they opened that door, right, somebody gets done in every time one of the doors open. So the guy's like, that's it. I'm not opening this Advent calendar, and then Swamp Bam from NIX shows up and just like splits you into like a Twix. That was going to be the basis of it. But I'm glad to hear that it got made. That makes me think, there's something in here.
No, yeah. It's all in ether. You keep going. No, look, guys, just keep doing your films because that's what I did. You just keep making things. And Scotland is one of the few places that we kept talking about for Sharknado, but it never happened. So at some point, maybe I'll be coming there to make a movie.
We've got a studio.
If you ever need an up and coming or wannabe Scottish actor, right here,
I'm trying to get the studio over, and he's just trying to plug himself. Well, we have a special effects studio, just so you know, and this guy here is an incredible artist, and he would more than happy to create your next shark. In fact, you've probably already made a Sharknado poster, Matthewman, amongst all the work you've done now.
Don't think so.
Not yet is what you're saying, not yet. For everybody that's watched tonight, thank you so much. So many people watch, but only so little comment for some reason. I think they're intimidated by the creator of Sharknado.
Oh, come on, give me a comment. Throw something at me. Throw a hard ball right at me.
Andy Gibbs says, Brave Shark. That would be a great one. A Scottish shark. You may take our fish
with William Mollusk.
You can go ahead. I've posted this link in all the comments and all description. We're live over several different media platforms, but if you click on the comments, you get a link direct, or you can go to www or https link.
Where's NIX playing? In is it DVD or is it streaming or where is it in Scotland?
You can get it. You can get it on iTunes Store, Sky Store, Google Play, a thing called Chili, and YouTube. So you can buy or rent that and everywhere. I imagine there's going to be a physical release online as well. Do you have?
Yeah, there will be something at some point. We'll probably do sort of a boutique label kind of thing for it down the road. And I know because it's separated because of the U.S. rights and the foreign rights. I think in Australia there's going to be a physical release. You guys might get one there too. Also, just to plug my band, Quint, Quint. Nice. We did the theme song to Sharknado. We did the theme song to NIX called Nothing, which is just out. So please download and support us because I love what we did with that song. It was really appropriate ending title.
What do you do in the band, Anthony?
On that one, I'm singer on that. I write the songs with Robbie. Robbie puts together most of the instrumentation, but I'll write some of the stuff. I'll write the lyrics, or come in with some music, or I'll work with Robbie on it. But Robbie's the guru of getting the soundscapes and stuff on it. And then I sing on Nothing. I sing the theme song to Sharknado, and then on this one. Joel Valder co-wrote Nothing with us, and he does a lot of the synth stuff for it. He really built that thing out to make it pretty epic.
Phenomenal.
We love synth, don't we? We love synth.
You need to come on and watch along with us. The next Sharknado movie that we watch, I'll definitely send you an invite if you ever want to. Not Sharknado, and the next shark movie that we watch as a watch along. If you're ever interested to come on and watch it live with us, you're more than welcome.
Just just make sure you reach out to me. So on the Instagram-y areas and stuff. And just say hey, and then just let me know if I'm not working on another project. It's been a busy.
That'd be
Been a busy year. I also have 2 westerns coming up.
Oh
next
no!
year.
Please say it's Western Shark. Please say it's Western Shark.
It's a straight western. The first one is Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch, and
man,
pretty incredible. So
I love westerns.
Yeah.
It's been a love that I've found in the last 5 years of my life. The last 5 years of my life, I love westerns. I mean, before that, the only one I liked was like Young Guns. But now I'm really getting into, I watched Joe Kidd the other day, like High Plains Drifter, and I've watched the Dollars trilogy, and I love a good western. So yeah,
I never thought I'd be doing a western, and we did a tiny bit of like a 10-minute thing in Sharknado 6, and I love that. And then this opportunity came up, and I fell in love with these characters, and I thought we could do something really cool. We have Jeffrey Combs in it. He plays Charlie Siringo, and I've known Jeff forever from Reanimator. I've interviewed him several times, and we've been friends through Brian Usna. So to have him in the film, it was just like working with an old friend. He's so freaking good in this thing. So it's and Dee Wallace pops up in it as well. So and. We got a great cast, and our actors playing Butch and Sundance. It's a very interesting western, but it's not genre. It's not there's no other extra genre to it. It's an odor, and it's
Send the screeners over when they're ready, man.
Absolutely, we'd love to see that and come on and we'll chat about that. Can't wait for that stuff. It'll be phenomenal. Awesome. It's been amazing having you on, and thank you so much for your time.
Anytime.
We hope Nix goes on to do another sequel, and we'll see what happens with Twix. It's been phenomenal. Can't thank you enough. We've had the creator of Sharknado on this podcast. I mean, if there was ever a podcast for the creator, this is absolutely it. So thank you very much again for coming on, and you're welcome to come on anytime. Okay.
Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Absolutely. It's great to see more independent movies. That's where it's at. And we're looking forward to the next wave. Thanks for everybody that's joined in tonight. And make sure to go ahead and check out the Sky Store, iTunes Store, Google Play. Go watch NIX and hit up Anthony on social media and let him know what you thought. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take it easy, guys.
Cool.